No one has ever shown that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming.
We have a massive power, and it's the power to say no.
They put all these words on these flyers. It means nothing. It's garbage.
We're all going to die!
Doctors are gaslighting patients.
If you keep silent, then this is what's going to happen. And they'll make us silent.
I would rather paper cut my eyelids than have anything to do with their voice.
We are one people, one flag, one Australia.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the ExCandidates. My name is Stephen Tripp, joined again by Adam Zahra. Now, Adam, last week, we had a huge week with this referendum, but we had Steve Chris do one last week, and that was a really great interview. But we've actually been in the media this week, and a lot of that had to do with our interview 2 weeks ago with Kerry White.
Yes.
Did you see some of the articles that were spread around, especially in The Guardian and also the Spectator Australia as well?
I did. It was actually, it's wonderful. It's good to see. It's so good to see that that the ExCandidates is getting some traction, and people are, and it's always good when you're in the opposing camp's radar. That means you're actually doing something right. So I was actually really happy about that, and it was good to see.
They were desperate. They were looking for victims, and they found something in The Guardian.
We'll talk about it later in the show, but we're going to do a big, firstly, celebration because, it was a hard-fought referendum. The no case, we were really up against it. We didn't have any funding. We were lacking volunteers, and we'll bring up some of those issues later on in the show. We're going to go booth by booth, or maybe not booth by booth, but we're going to pick out some of the most important booths with our returning polling expert Sam Buono. It's for his third appearance. Now he's been on episode 57 and episode 75. Now, quickly, Sam. Firstly, how are you?
Oh, magnificent! My confidence in Australians has just been restored.
Well, our confidence in you isn't really restored because I just want to play this clip from the first time you're on the show. This is episode 57.
Does Albanese go to a full term? If the yes vote goes up, we'll have an election by October of 24. Does the yes vote win? I think so, yes, 55-45. So the voice will get in. I think so.
Why do we bother having you on the show?
I take full responsibility. I got that wrong again. So,
but honestly, Sam, I'll pay you that one though, because you know what, mate? Like seriously, at the start, it was pretty bad.
It was grim,
But I tell you what, they hung themselves. The speakers, the people that they put forward as the architects of the voice, that your likes of Thomas Mayo and Teela Reeds and all that. They hadn't come onto the scene quite as yet at that point.
If I was Ray Martin, I'd put him in the paddock and leave him out there.
Ray Martin. As far as I'm concerned, Ray Martin. I lost all respect for Ray Martin, and I was very, very. I used to like Ray Martin as a from a current affair, and he was the person that you would turn to and have a look for news and. Talking to people, talking about, the Australian public the way he did. Yeah. Mate, we're all entitled to our yes or no. And, calling us idiots and all the other expletives that he used, that's, lost all faith and all respect for him.
I'm not wrong. Right. Hey, Tony, I'm not wrong on Penny Wong. She's done the right job. She's got that girl out of bloody China. So I'll take that back. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, Tony's message in the comments. He's Wong about Penny too. So I know there's a little bit of a rivalry between our good friend Tony and Sam. So.
Yes.
All right, but before, actually not just quite yet. Got another comment here. Next move, albo gone. Well, I was expecting that last night. And,
I thought he was going to retire. He had tears in his eyes.
He had tears in his eyes and everything. But I want to bring. We're gonna have some special guests.
The fall guy will be. Oh,
sorry.
The fall guy will be Linda Burney. She was absolutely incompetent.
Well, she was just reading from the script the whole time, wasn't it?
That's a victim of identity politics when you got poor people in the parliament who've got not there on merit.
We're going to have some special guests on tonight. They'll only be coming on to speak for five or 10 minutes or so, just to give their views on the referendum and the result and everything like that. But firstly, I think this is appropriate that we're having this person on first, just to give her comments. We'll introduce her now. Krie White, how are you?
Hi guys, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm good. Very elated. Great result.
Magnificent.
Congratulations, Krie. I think you're a hero of this campaign. For Aboriginal people to stand up and push back against this proposal, I think that's a big reason why the majority of Australians voted no yesterday.
Well, I'm glad Australians voted no. We really needed to vote this out. And now we still got some work ahead of us, because we need to get rid of all these advisory groups, and we need an investigation into all these organisations and the land councils on where all this money's gone. Well, Aboriginal people know where it's gone, but the Australian people need to know where it's gone. And we needed to start with a clean slate, because them people in Parliament, none of them, not those advisory groups, those organisations, the activists, none of them, they do not speak for us. And we are so proud of our fellow Australians to stand with us and say no to this voice.
Unbelievable result in South Australia. I couldn't believe that. There was a news poll on Friday night said South Australia was 33-65 or something like that. I couldn't believe it, but they were right.
Yes, and the South Australian government have already brought in a voice to Parliament, and now we're going to push back and get them to drop it. We don't want it. And also in Victoria, they've done the same.
Well, I know Sarah Game, straight away, she's put a media release out. She's been a guest on one of our podcasts as well. So Sarah Game, she's the One Nation Upper House MLC representative, and she has she's already drafted the request to have it revoked.
Yes, and I sent her a message on Twitter today. We're very proud of our Sarah Game. Yes.
Now, Krie, this is your electorate of Grey, if I understand that correctly. They voted 78.4% no. How much of Grey is a rural, remote Aboriginal community?
All of it.
Yep. So overwhelmingly, the Aboriginal people of Grey voted no.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a massive. It's one of the biggest electorates in Australia. It basically goes north of Gawler all the way up to the rest of basically everywhere, most of the state.
Yeah, right up to the Northern Territory border.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Look at
it.
Massive.
Yeah.
And that's where all the Aboriginal people are.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is an argument that I had I'm in Warringah on the Northern Beaches, and the amount of they all went yes, right? And a lot of them were coming up to me and saying, why are you voting no? And I would say, look, there's a lot of Aboriginal people out there that don't want this. And they would say, yeah, but 80% of Aboriginal people do want it. I'm like, what about the 20% that don't want it? And then they wouldn't believe me that I was telling them stories about you, and you were telling me that Aboriginal people in rural and remote communities didn't want this. They didn't want to hear that. They think that they know everything. They've probably never even been to a remote community.
No, they haven't. They sit in the city. They're city born and bred, right? They only know. I feel sorry for them actually, because they only know the narrative that these bloody activists have been pushing, and they've been pushing it for years. We Aboriginal people in rural and remote Australia, we are really sick and fed up with their lies, and they're pushing the narrative. It's their narrative, and all it's done is hurt at the Aboriginal people of rural and remote Australia, you know, with their Sorry Day, Invasion Day, Welcome to Country, and all the rest of the rubbish. That all comes from the city. That doesn't
from
come from
Redfern.
Aboriginal people in the bush.
All that
Kerry,
stuff comes from Redfern.
Kerry, I was so happy that we got to interview you. Kerry, I was so happy that we've been able to interview you twice before the referendum, because when when you're standing on the polling booths and you're handing out flyers and people are, people have a mouth at you and they have a go, and they go, what are you basing your decision on? And they go, and unfortunately, poor Jacinta Price has copped, a lot of backlash from this. And they go, you're just basing on what Jacinta Price is saying. And I say, well, no, actually, I'm basing it on what Krie White is saying. And they go, well, Krie White. And I said, well, she's an Aboriginal elder from South Australia. And I said, and then you know what? Their brains literally explode in their head. They just cannot believe that somebody else other than Jacinta is saying, no to this. That's Aboriginal, So the artillery that you were able to give us and the information that you gave us, and we know it was from the heart because you want the best for the Aboriginal people. It gave, I think it gave the people in the No campaign, people who watched our show and all that kind of stuff. It just gave us like real vigor to really actually feel like that we were on the right side of this referendum.
Yes, you all were. And the only change is going to come from a grassroots level, right? And these city activists, they don't come out to the grassroots level. They don't know what's going on out here. And but they sit up there and they mouth off and they dictate as to how it's going to be. And all this money that they've wasted, and it's been wasted for decades. And, we're trying to get our voices out there and we get suffocated because of them. And the sad fact is that there was a lot of elders like myself that were speaking up. Unfortunately, they didn't get the media coverage. I mean, I'm lucky because of you guys. You got my message out there, and I did that speech at the Adelaide Convention Centre, and that kind of went viral around Australia. And I had people from Western Australia, saying, go and talk over there. They need someone over there. And, I was invited to various places around South Australia to speak on behalf of the No campaign and Aboriginal people. And Sarah came with me a couple of times to Aboriginal communities, and she found out for herself that they didn't know what the voice was about. They didn't want it. They weren't consulted, as what happens with all these things, that go through Parliament. They say, this is what Aboriginal people want. Well, no, that's what they want. And we're sick of their narrative. So Thank you, Australia. Thank you for standing with us.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. We've got some other people waiting to come on and comment as well, so we'll let you go in a minute. I just want to ask one last question. We had a few media articles about you based on our interviews with you either 2 weeks ago or the one in December, and there was a hit piece. I mean, this is something that I can't even comprehend, especially in this referendum, that the Guardian would do a hit piece on an Aboriginal elder. It just completely blows my mind. They put out this article here, and they've picked up on a comment that you made about Uluru Statement supporters wanting their own military, and they've used. And I know you said it during the interview, but you said it just once, and it was a very quick comment. What are your comments on this Guardian article? And there are others as well, but this was the main one. What do you have to say about it?
That Josh, from the Guardian, that wrote that article, he's a sympathiser with Thomas Mayo. He put out a tweet on X, and it said that he feels for Thomas Mayo because it was all the misinformation that destroyed the yes vote.
Yeah. Well, look,
We're going to talk about that one.
In my book, Kerry, you're a hero.
Yes.
Aboriginal people like you are heroes. Whether they spoke out for the yes campaign or the no campaign, it's all about, you guys having a voice. We need to listen. The rest of Australia needs to listen because, as you've said on interviews before, there's a lot of stuff happening in rural and remote Aboriginal communities that needs to be addressed. And that's what we should be focusing on, not changing the constitution. We need to focus on fixing these issues out there.
No, and Aboriginal people don't want to be in the Constitution. We don't want change in the Constitution because our Constitution is colourblind. It speaks for all Australians. And, we're so proud that our Australian brothers and sisters have seen through this yes rubbish and stood up and pushed back against it. And I'd like to thank every no voter out there personally for their clear thinking on this matter and voting in for the right side of history. And I thank you guys for allowing me to have a platform to get our voices heard.
Well, thank you, Kerry. We love you a lot. I hope I can call you a friend. And hopefully in the next few months, we can have you back on and talk about maybe a little bit of your past, your upbringing, and really addressing issues in Aboriginal communities and what we can do to help and solve them.
Let's fix the problem.
Yeah.
Yes, and also the better way, recognise a better way, has now gone to closing the gap.
Okay.
We are now working on closing the gap.
And you'll be working with Recognise a Better, and that's Dr. Gary Johns and John Anderson, and a whole bunch of great people there.
Yeah, so now we're closing the gap.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Kerry. We'll speak soon, and all the best.
Thank you, Kerry.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I've got to go, so thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bless you all.
Wow.
How was that, guys?
You know what? It's so good. It's so good to be, on the right side of history and actually to have a victory under your belt after all the hard work, and that not just us, but everyone does. That they have been working hard to get the voice of the Aboriginal people. And one of my favourite lines on the polling booth was, the voice is going to silence 4,800 mobs' voices. And replace it with one. Yeah. And honestly, when you had those, the other side listening to that, their brains just pop. So it was so good to see Kerry, and I'm so glad that it was a victory for them.
Got a comment here from Evan. He said, "Stop throwing the money at them. It hasn't worked." Well, unfortunately, I mean, it's going to land councils and a lot of elites. It's not actually filtering down to Aboriginal people on the ground, is it?
Well, red tape and bureaucracy.
Yeah. This is why we should have been really what we should have been voting for in this referendum was: do we have it pay for a royal commission or not?
Yeah,
into the Aboriginal affairs. That would have been a far better $400 million spent on campaigning.
Yeah.
To find out where the money's gone and why has it not changed?
Yeah. Anyway, we've got another guest that we'd like to bring on. Natalie Dumer, how are you today?
Oh, I am so excited. I've been celebrating all day. Hi, guys. I come to you from the teal electorate. So we had a slightly tougher time than anyone else. And I've got to say a big congratulations to the Grassroots campaign because it actually has reinstilled my belief in the Australian people. Because I was thinking, wow, the polls before were just so shocking and it was all grassroots. So fabulous. Congratulations to everyone. And I've spoken to many, many Aboriginal people and they're very happy. So it's awesome. But my electorate was the most abusive electorate or one of the most abusive electorate. Yeah. We had a lady punched. A yes campaigner punched a no campaigner. Really? Her husband was shoved into the bushes. We had someone shove a yes paper into a 70-year-old's face who was on crutches and expected him to take it, which I was just like, you're kidding, read the room. And he was obviously a no voter. It was joyful. Lots of abuse.
I mean, look, I'm from Sydney's west, the southwest, and honestly, like you guys are, always pitched up to be, better than us, I guess. Not from you guys, but not from you, but I'm just saying, in our minds, I guess it's a mindset thing, like you guys, the north side and blah blah blah, and how good it is, right? And I got to be honest with you.
No, it was virtue signalling. So we had Allegra Spender. So all of Allegra Spender's volunteers were out in droves. So you would have maybe 2 no people to about 8 to 10 yes people that were constantly rotating. And the amount of virtue signalling was out of control. But I mean, these people truly believe in what they're peddling. They really do. So it's quite sad in a way. And their catchphrase was vote for a kinder Australia, to which I had to say, well, I'm sorry, but you're actually assuming that Australians aren't kind. I find that a very offensive comment. It's really sad. They think they compared the genocide of the Jewish people and the Palestinian people to a current genocide of the Aborigines. I'm perplexed as to where that genocide is occurring, and I hope to God that it isn't, but I haven't heard of one. Have you?
No,
I think it's in their imagination.
It was actually quite amazing to listen to these people.
Where do you think this will go, though? I mean, the left never let a crisis go to waste. Do you think Albanese and others will quickly shift to this misinformation, disinformation legislation that they're proposing? I know Thomas Mayo came out and made comments that, the No campaign was spreading misinformation, and I heard some comments on the ABC as well, and I think Albo even said something as well. So
sorry, the ABC pushed the misinformation, disinformation thing. I mean, I watched it probably after scrutineering. I watched it for about an hour and a half, and they would have brought it up about 10 times at least.
They want to pass the bill. I mean, this is a great reason for them to go and pass this particular misinformation, disinformation bill. I think that's our next battleground, that and the WHO. But I just find it really amazing that the people who perpetrated the misinformation, disinformation are the ones that are saying we were doing it, when you had Albanese saying that, the Uluru Statement of the Heart was 1 page, not the 26 pages or 126 or whatever it was, and then telling a radio presenter that he didn't need to read the rest. So I'm sorry, I think that's pretty much pulling the wool over the Australians' eyes, is it not?
Well, he's a terrible campaigner. Like he basically got invited anti-ScoMo from 18 months ago. And
precisely. I mean, the best thing that could have happened to this campaign was Albanese saying that. And I think Ray Martin calling us dickheads and dinosaurs. And I was going to get a badge and put it on myself and go out campaigning, calling myself, I'm, proud to be a dickhead.
Well, he should be retired, sent him onto the cow pastures with the cows.
Absolutely.
He should hang his wig up and he should bloody he should
retire
now. He should leave public eye.
Yeah, retire gracefully.
But he won't. I don't think he will. And if he will, who are we going to get? I mean, what are the options? You might get Tanya Plebiscite or Penny Wong.
Bill Shorten will be the right.
Bill Shorten.
Oh, yeah. Bill Shorten. I mean, we've got slim pickings, but at least we can celebrate one day of doing something right. And what I think that everyone should really pay attention to is the Northern Territory. 2/3 voted, and they've got the highest Aboriginal community. They voted against this, and yet the Canberra ACT voted for it. It just says it all, doesn't it? All the politicians.
Yeah. But Natalie, Sam and I were in a teal seat yesterday as well, up in Warringah. And same thing, we didn't cop quite as much abuse. I did hear they were copping a lot of abuse in Manly, to an extent where one of the seasoned campaigners, he was ready to go home and cry and just not campaign ever again, like the amount of abuse that he was copping. And look, everyone has a democratic right to hold their own views. We're not always going to agree, but you don't want to go and attack people and just yell abuse at them and as you told your story, physically assault people based on their views. We all live in this country and we all are entitled to our democratic right. But unfortunately, in these teal seats, the yes case did quite well, which would suggest that the teals are still very much in control of these seats. Do you see anything changing before the federal election? Like, what do we have to do to convince people that the teals are no good?
Well, the problem with the teal seats is they've done an amazing job on those people that needed some sort of a reason to exist, because the volunteers are dominant. Sorry, but it's true. I mean, you've got a predominant retired volunteer base, people who are fairly well off in a good socioeconomic position, and they're bored, and they've been given a virtuous cause that they were looking for. They had nothing better to do. And I actually spoke to the Liberal Party because they organised the campaign in Wentworth, and I said, you guys were you're behind the ball. You literally let your Conservative base down, and all the Conservatives had no one to vote for, and now the ones that are retired, the ones that were true Conservatives, have been given something to do, be virtuous and virtue signal left, right and centre. I don't know how to get these electorates back. Perhaps we do need to give them something else to think about other than climate change, the Uluru Treaty and all the rest of it. But these people, they genuinely believe in this. And when you've got 800 volunteers, which is what Allegra Spender had, it's 800 and they're the same. So I had post-traumatic stress disorder when I was out there from my federal campaign. They're all the same faces. In fact, one turned around and said, I know who you are. You're Natalie Dumer, and turned his back on me and just walked away. And I thought, oh, well, if you're lost, you don't want to speak to me. That's cool. I don't have the answer. I wish I had the answer. I think these seats have gone very woke and very left.
Do you have any indication of where they're getting their news from? Are they like a lot? The ABC gets blamed a lot of times, but someone was telling me about the marketing that the teals do, where they're emailing these people directly. They get them on these mailing lists, and they include them in social events, and they include them in different things. I think it's more of a cult than actual.
Thank you. You just said the word I was going to say. They're a cult. They're an actual cult. They come to the electoral booth. They hug each other. A lot of them are either single or have nothing else to do. It's such a cultist behavior, and to actually attack other people and call them, what were we called? We were called racist, we were called Nazis, we were called all sorts of things. And so were the actual people who were voting no. Like I actually felt sorry for this guy. There was a religious Jewish guy that was obviously coming out of the synagogue, and he's traumatized, as are the Palestinians. We're all, I'm Jewish, but we're all traumatized by what's going on in the Middle East. He didn't want to vote yes, so he took the no vote, the yes vote. Unfortunately for him, he tore up the yes, threw it up in the air because he was very angry. And he turned to the lady and said, look, I don't want division. You're a bunch of greens, which I guess teals are a shade of green, and you're communists and blah, blah, blah. Like, he went off. He wasn't very happy. And she turned around, she said, oh, my God, that's a typical no voter too. I said, no, that's not a typical no voter. That is a person that's in a world of hurt with what is going on. And you need to understand that a little bit better. You're preaching kindness and telling everyone to vote for a kinder Australia, and yet you have no kindness in your heart, only for an Aboriginal cause. And I don't think you've ever met an Aboriginal.
What do you say to that?
It was a she. The majority of them are she's. She said, you look upset and it must be from him. And I sort of went, no, you're actually upsetting me. Not. I feel sorry for this poor guy. He's upset. You've got to understand what's going on in people's lives, but I don't know. They are a cult. Stephen, you're 100% on the money. They're a cult.
But at the same time, McKellar, I was surprised. The result in McKellar is line ball 50-50. I thought, compared to the other teal seats, I was really surprised that McKellar was that close. And I think deep down, with all the postals coming in, you'll find McKellar will probably go no.
That would be an amazing thing to see.
But McKellar, you got to remember at the federal election, Sophie Scamps didn't win on primary. She was well behind the primary votes, and she won on preferences. So maybe that has something to do.
So did Allegra, though. Allegra won on preferences. Yeah, Dave Sharma won on primaries, and then she won on preferences, but she had preferences from Labor and Greens.
Well, unfortunately, Natalie, Sam's a big fan of Allegra.
Oh
for some
God,
reason.
Sam, I don't like you anymore.
Oh, well, join the queue.
I went to see her. I had lots of things to say to her, and she didn't even want to answer my emails.
No, not surprised.
They'll be their staffers, and they'll just delete you. That's it.
Natalie, in this whole campaign, I've seen you on social media. You've really been fighting hard. Why was this so important for you? This referendum.
I think for me, honestly, I think like I've said previously, I come from a previous socialist country and division. You know, everyone's equal, but some are more equal than others. That was the line that you always got. I just don't believe in division of any sort. I don't think we should have a colour that we see. We're all equal. You know, that famous saying, if you do not prick me, do we not bleed? And I actually was thinking about one of the best speeches ever made or written by Martin Luther King about not seeing the colour of people's skin. It was just important to me to be in a country which was all inclusive and not have that kind of racist thing put into a constitution.
Yeah. All right, we'll let you go. But what's in the future for Natalie Dumer after this referendum?
That's a very good question. I am not sure. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still politically involved. I haven't actually left the UAP yet, so I don't know whether they're going to reinstate the party. I think they're looking at doing that, which would be great to see. I think it'd be great to see a lot of the minor conservative parties join forces. That would be amazing because, you know, united we stand, divided we fall, and this was the division they were trying to do. So congratulations to Australia.
Yeah, congratulations.
And how can people follow you on social media and those sorts of places?
I've got my social media. My Instagram feed is Natalie_Dumer, and I also run an event at Double Bay the first Wednesday of every month. So if anybody ever wants to come, we always have really good speakers. We've had John Ruddick there. We've had Craig Kelly, Professor Philip Altman. So everybody's welcome. We don't discriminate. I don't mind who comes, even a Labor person if they really want to. So yeah, people can find me there.
What is that? A Wednesday?
It's the first Wednesday of every month, so it'll be the 1st of November, and it's at the Sheaf. We've changed the venue, so it's at the Sheaf around about. It starts at 6, but people kind of mosey on in at 6:30. You can have a drink.
I know Richard Storch always comes in.
Of course he does. I know Richard really well. We made friends at the federal election.
I think we all know Richard.
He lives about 2 minutes away.
He comes every time.
Yeah.
I got to get out of work one night so I can come because I know
you gotta come because it's actually really good. The speakers have been phenomenal. I have to pinch myself. I had Gigi Foster just rock up one day and I sort of went, "Oh wow, you're here!" This is quite amazing. So yeah, all welcome.
So the next one's the 1st of November.
1st of November. I'll see you there, Sam. Don't bring Allegra.
Yeah, it's at the old Golden Sheaf, isn't it?
The Golden Sheaf in the canopy room upstairs.
No problems.
All right. Thank you very much, Natalie. We really appreciate everything you've done throughout the campaign.
Great to see you guys. You too.
Many of your posts on social media and reshared them and everything. So thanks for coming on tonight.
You too. Thanks for doing this. See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Sam. So let's bring up Wentworth. It's one of the teal heartlands.
Just quickly, guys. I mean, sorry, I'm a little bit ill, but how good is it that we've had these people on our podcast, and you know they're willing to come back and share their story, and this podcast has been a bit of at the forefront of a lot of issues that have been going on in the past year and a bit. So, I think it's nice to take a second just to go, to thank our special guests and all our guests that we always have on, and your opinion, you're very valued, and I think it's a great service to the people that you get to come on here or that you choose to come on here and actually and get your message out. So thank you very much.
And we appreciate our viewers as well. Everyone putting comments in the chat. We really appreciate that. If you want to come on and actually, join us live, make a comment, you're more than welcome to do so. I've put the link to join us in the chat. I'll put it up right now. So I'm posting the link right now. If you want to jump on, you can use your phone, you can use your laptop, whatever you need to do. Actually, I should let you know that we're not streaming on Twitter tonight. I've actually switched to YouTube. It's almost a little bit like a narcissistic relationship we have with YouTube. You know, we once we think we're away, they lure us back in, but we'll see how we go on the YouTube. But we're streaming live on Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. If you want to jump on, use that link that I've just put in the chat, and you're welcome to come on and have your say. Please don't use any foul language or defame anyone or anything like that. But we would love to hear from you. We love reading the comments. Tony's just commented, I enjoy hearing the accurate political predictions of Sam Buono too. So there's barbs already being thrown.
Tony, there's an old saying, there's cheap seats outside the ring.
She'll get on. She'll get on.
Yeah, come on, Tony. Bring it on. I think the battle lines have been drawn. Sam's all fired up and ready to go.
She texted me the other week, and I thought, well, who's that? And I thought, oh, that's her again.
All right. Fighting words.
They are fighting words, Tony.
All right, so Sam, this is from the ABC. Now, this is the seats with the strongest no result. We have Wright, Mallee, Parkes, Grey, which we just discussed in South Australia. They were almost 80% no. Capricornia, Dawson, Kennedy, Hinkler, Flynn, and Maranoa.
Maranoa. That's the safest. That's the safest coalition seat in Australia.
And they went 84.1% no.
That ending west of Toowoomba out to Birdsville and halfway up to there. It's one of the biggest. It's the safest coalition seat in the country, and it's David Littleproud's seat. So
if we look at those electorates that went heavy no, what's the commonality that you see between them?
All outback. Parkes is basically anything west of Narrabri out to Broken Hill.
So Sam, you're telling me that the booth, the electorates with, I would say, the highest Aboriginal populations compared to other maybe city booths, they all went no.
That's exactly right.
And in Warringah, we had signs up with the teals saying 80% of people, 80% of Indigenous people want this voice. What a load of garbage.
Yeah, that's right. That's the results. Actually, I went out the outback about 2 weeks ago.
I'll just let Elizabeth know we're live every Sunday night at 8:00. Yeah. And Kim, I don't agree with the YouTube statement. Rumble was. But if you do prefer YouTube, that's why we're there. But go on, Sam. So rural seats, they're high Aboriginal, or I guess a lot of Aboriginal people living in these.
Well, in New South Wales, Parkes, the electorate of Parkes, which is basically anything west of Narrabri, that's the highest Indigenous population in New South Wales, and
they were 78.8% no.
So I went out. I was right in the middle of it. I was out right out in the basically almost in the middle of the electorate about 2 weeks ago for a carnival, and I was talking to a lot of people who live out that way. They were all going to say no, so they were true to their word. So I had people. I had a few mates in Dubbo, mate in Narrabri, bloke in Gunnedah, bloke who's a farmer in the middle of Liverpool Plains. Actually, a bloke that's not far from John Anderson's farm on the black soils of the Liverpool Plains.
I've got a bit of a surprise for you, Sam and Adam. Right. Adam, we've got another guest that's just popped on.
Okay.
Mr. Jeff Grimshaw.
Mr. Grimshaw. Hey, mate.
Jeffrey.
Good evening.
This time? Yes or no?
No.
No, that's right.
Jeff, I don't know if you saw, we were just talking about, I'll bring it back up on the screen. This is from the ABC. These are the seats with the strongest no result. And they're basically mainly outback regional seats. Now, if we scroll down to the electorates with the highest yes results, we got Melbourne, Grainler, which is Anthony Albanese's electorate, Marrickville area, very in a city. Sydney, Canberra, Cooper, McNamara, Wills, Wentworth, Higgins, and Kooyong, all strong yes votes, but all inner city elites.
Yeah, it's the Antoinette seats, as I call them, the people full of Marie Antoinettes. They were expecting a yes vote, and they're very, very upset. I don't know if you've been reading all the Twitter comments, but oh boy, are they angry, because they were expecting to sort of wake up this morning and go out for their lattes and smashed avo sandwiches, and then later get together and have their Verve Clicos, or however you pronounce it, driving around in their Teslas going, "Oh, aren't we such wonderful people? Don't forget to invite Allegra, and let's call Monique, and let's all pat ourselves on the back because we're such nice people, aren't we? Oh yes, we are. Yes, that's why we said yes." And It didn't happen, and that's why they're upset. They're upset that they're not going to have their virtue signaling party where they all go, with the "oh, aren't we wonderful people?" Freaking stuck up, narcissistic little.
We've saved the Aboriginals.
Exactly.
We've saved the Aboriginals. That's it. We've got a yes. We've saved them. You've done nothing. You've done nothing except spend $400 million on nothing.
Yeah. Oh, they don't care about that. I mean, they've got the money to be able to do this. It doesn't affect them. It's the same with the climate scam. I mean, how coincidental is it that all of those seats you listed there, most of them are teal seats? Yep. I mean, Wentworth is in there. Sorry, Stephen. And I think isn't Warringah a no at the moment?
Heavy no, 60% no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. But Wentworth was a yes.
Sorry, 60% yes. Sorry.
I was going to say, what Warringah is 60% no.
Yeah, sorry.
A challenge.
Yeah, this is Warringah, 58.8%.
Yes.
To the yes. So all these bleeding heart lefties and teals, they're all on the Albanese train.
Doesn't it just go to show that all the outer electorates, with the strong no vote, with the high Aboriginal population and things like that, doesn't it go to show that they have no faith in? I guess the result shows they have no faith in the government or the governments of the past, that even something that is so geared towards them, would even do anything anyway. To me, it seems like you smell a rat, and you and it's like, you know what? All it means is that any money that they earn, or any money that the taxpayer earns that goes to Aboriginal affairs, is going to be less that comes to us with this parliamentary voice in place.
Yeah, look, I think the best way to see the government is, and it's the way I look at it as well, is they're not a government, and they haven't been for a long time. I see them as government as a sort of long-running episode of The Sopranos or The Godfather. That they're the mafia basically, and they have all of these little families, well, big families. Obviously, they've got the Labour family and the Liberal family and the Greens family, and they occasionally have a fight, and they're opposing each other on the surface, and they take each other out occasionally, but they're all in it doing the same thing, which is robbing the little people blind, holding people to ransom, holding small businesses to ransom. All you have to pay is your protection money. And they were about to bring in another family. Well, I mean, this family kind of already exists, but they were about to give them a bigger seat at the table, and that was the Aboriginal elite family, made up of people like Langton and what's his name, Pearson, and other people like I think he's died now, but that Mr. or Dr. Penguin, with his never owned a business, never made anything, but somehow miraculously had a helicopter pad and helicopters, and I've heard that
and a pilot 24 hours a day.
Sorry.
And a pilot 24 hours a day.
Yeah. I've actually heard that Toyota Australia have just had a load of Land Cruisers cancelled.
All right, so we've just got a question here. by Elizabeth. She's asked if I went to high school in Wollongong. No, I didn't. I went to high school in the city. So, no, if you're thinking of someone in Wollongong, it definitely wasn't me. Jeff, Natalie's commented, Jeff, no spreading misinformation.
Me? Never.
Now,
That's
Jeff,
coming next, by the way. Look, like I said, the left are very angry about this, and you've already heard it. You know, the no side were pushing misinformation. It's like with what? With the $150 that we had versus your 150 million or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, where did we? I hardly saw any no campaign material. I think I got 3 flyers in my box, all of which were yes campaign material. Every bloody bus stop was yes. Every local council was putting up posters and campaigns for yes. It's like, when did no get their chance to spread misinformation?
That's right.
This really was grassroots campaigning. This was people speaking to people and doing it from the ground up, and that's why it was successful. It wasn't like a regular federal or state election where people turn up and make their decision 20 seconds before they walk in the booth. This had been going on for 18 months and been built up for 18 months. And initially, when they announced it, I think the yes was about 70% or something, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
And now it's gone down to like 39, or it's probably going to dip below 40, because we didn't know anything about it when they announced it. Still don't know anything about it, because apparently they were going to fill in all the details later.
So I just wonder, how could you spread misinformation or disinformation when there was no details on it anyway?
Exactly. I mean, misinformation. The misinformation. It's missing information, which came from the yes side. It was like, what are the details? It's missing information. So yes was peddling the misinformation, as in the missing information, and they got the gall, of course, to accuse us of what they're doing.
Now, Jeff, there's going to be a lot of winners and losers from this referendum. In your opinion, who were the winners and losers for you?
Nobody was the winner and loser. It was absolutely disgusting to do this. I'm going to quote. Who was it who said this? Barnaby Joyce. I think he said in an interview last week. He said, "Don't ever do this to our country again."
Yeah.
When he was addressing Albanese, there's no winners and losers in this. It's just been absolutely a waste of time, a waste of money. It's divided the country. It's caused a lot of harm. The only good things I can see coming out of it is that people are now aware of all this money that's being spent, i.e. the Abo mafia are taking it, and various other people, of course. So there might actually be inquiries into where that money's going, which, of course, One Nation and other parties have been calling for a long time. But it shouldn't just be into the 40 billion that's spent. It should be into everything, because it's not just this money that's being rorted. It's absolutely everything. We need inquiries into the the light rail that cost 4 billion, the tens of billions spent on the desal plants that were never needed, and then were sold to the Canadian Teachers Federation. I mean, what's going on there? Yeah. We just get robbed blind by these thieving little spivs, and they just hand our money over to their mates, and this grift and this theft is it's done on an international scale now.
Yeah.
Our money is just handed over to everybody, and if somebody needs a job in America because Hillary Clinton lost, then we've got a job for you over here, we'll hand over like 300 million, 400 million to the Clinton Foundation, and it's just disgusting what's going on there. So there should be something done about everything, but of course it's pointless asking for this, because it's like asking the police to investigate the police. The government are not going to investigate the government.
Looking at the results, Jeff, for me, it feels like Brexit, doesn't it? The inner cities of London and Newcastle and Manchester and the big cities, and the inner city just got leave. It's where get outside, let's say from Sydney, say from Bondi to Petersham, you get to Ashfield, Stratfield, and the further west you go is more no, until you got the big nose by the mountains.
Yep. Yeah, it did actually feel a little bit like Brexit, except Brexit felt good. This doesn't. I mean,
I woke up this morning happy but angry. I said, this
yeah. That's it. Thank you. I was happy but angry. I mean, it's nice to watch the left, drink. We can drink the tears and everything. And they haven't had a good week really. The left. They started out 6 days ago walking around with their Hammersmates calling for the gassing of the Jews, and by the end of the week, they've also lost their racist referendum. New Zealand has gone back to sensible, and this guy does actually sound like he might be a genuine conservative, not a fake one. But we'll wait and see on that. So they haven't had a good week, really.
He's lost a bit of ground though. The votes, it's gone off by 1%. The National Party, so he might need Winston Peters. That's the problem.
Okay, but don't they have some by-election coming up where he might gain a seat back?
No, there's some form. It's a very strange electoral system. I can't work it out myself.
Well, it's New Zealand. What do you expect?
Well, you might be right. You might be right, Jeff, because it feels more like we've dodged a bullet than won an important vote.
Yeah. And we've got to gear up for what they're going to throw at us, because believe me, when the left lose, they get very angry and they go all.
Well, I think it'll start tomorrow morning. We'll start tomorrow morning. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
Term will be on Radio National, putting the narrative for 10, 15 minutes, and it'll run off like that. Yeah. He'll blame Dutton and everybody else. I might be wrong, but I don't be surprised if Turnbull's on at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning on Radio National. Throw some bombs out there and see what comes through the media the next couple of days.
Yeah, and why did they make this a Liberal Labour thing? Because it really wasn't that. How many Liberal politicians were supporting it? There's quite a few.
There was a few.
Yeah, and I would expect that there'll be a few Labour no MPs, but they're not allowed to, because they're not allowed to.
This afternoon, there's Adams' election in Macarthur. He said that Mike Freelander said basically the Labor Party has got to stop listening to the inner city elites and the teal seats or the green seats and start working out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's probably just now trying to save face because he's got an election coming up soon, and with such a strong vote of no vote out our way, that could be worried that he's going to lose his seat.
But I think there'll be I think I might be wrong, I'm kiss of death, but I'm just saying people can differentiate it to a federal election, to a state election, to a referendum. So I don't know there's much leverage behind. This is just a one-off. This is just an issue. People felt strongly about it. I don't know if it's got any implications in a normal federal election. I might be wrong, but what I'll do is say people who are doubtful about the Labor Party or the government saying, "Oh, well, I think they're not good," then they realise the whole country voted against them. They might say, "Oh shit, okay, I'm on the right thing." I might say, "Oh, okay, I've had enough of them." Just a bit of doubt. Now suddenly the rest of the country has said no to his proposal, and suddenly he loses a bit of bark. That's just another chip off the block, and over time,
Do you think he'll step down?
I'd like to say that at least I'm glad that Mike Freelander did speak out a little bit at least anyway. So that was a good thing anyway.
Yeah. Do you think Albo stepped down?
No,
I don't either.
He would have done it last night.
He's never going to.
But the question is, will he get knifed?
That's what will happen. He'll get knifed. He won't step down.
If he was going to get knifed, there would have been some articles from people insiders saying there's something going on, or they'll throw a rat out there or something like that. There's nothing been so far.
Everyone's too salty yet, Sam. So what happened? We've got a new news cycle coming next week. So they'll have to think of something. They'll start something.
The news cycle will start with Turnbull tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I think if he gets knifed, it'll be a lot closer to the next election.
You'll give the new person 6 to 12 months out.
Yeah, so it might
be. If he's safe by this time next year, he'll go to the election. Well, this will prove he can't go an early election. I assume he'll go the full. I think we'll have an election in March of 25.
Yes, and don't forget he was elected as
prediction.
Sorry,
hey, we should do a segment, the Buono prediction.
Yeah, exactly. Well, put another one on that, mate. I'm probably wrong, but the way it is at the moment, I doubt if you go to an election now.
Yeah. All right, Jeff. Thank you very much for coming on. We'll have to have you back on soon. It's good to see you again. What's in the future for you, mate? What's happening with Jeff Grimshaw?
I'm working on some stuff that I shall discuss next time, because the energy situation, the electricity situation is getting pretty damn serious, and that's the next big thing I think that's coming. Is they'll switch back to climate change, the climate change hoax, and renewables and everything else. So watch out. Yeah. It's going to get a lot worse.
And I see you on Twitter sometimes. Is that the best place to follow you?
Yes. Yeah, I'm back. I was never really on Twitter, but when Elon took over, I dipped my toe in the water and found it to be a lot less hostile than it was before, and a lot less of a lefty echo chamber. So yeah, Twitter.
Okay. Jeff Grimshaw on Twitter. All right, thanks, mate. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your comments, and we'll see you soon.
See ya. Thanks a lot.
All right. So, Adam, I just want to bring up with you. You and I both did scrutineering.
Oh yes.
Yesterday. Yeah, and for me, it was a valuable experience to see the actual process of how it all went. And it gave me a lot of faith in our electoral system and the voting system. You know, you hear things all the time about votes being rigged, and sure, who knows, it could happen. But from what I saw, our system is solid, very, very solid. What did you think?
Yeah, I felt it was very. I think it is pretty good as well, actually. I'm not saying that there's. I don't know enough about it probably to understand how it could be frauded. But I do think from what I saw, you know, they have the ballot books. They've got all the stubs. They count how many books have been used, how many are part used. Well, there's not part used as such. You only have one part used one. Everything's counted. Then they have everything's numbered from, top to bottom. And then everything's got a cross match at the end. So I was at a booth that had about 1,305 votes, to be exact, actually. And what happens is that they had, their stubs, and, everything's tagged, everything's labeled, everything's sealed. They're just regular people, the Electoral Commission staff. It's not like it's this big crime syndicate of, mobsters and gangsters in there having a smoke, going, yeah, we're going to get this one and that. It's just people doing a day's work, getting paid.
Hey, Sam,
was there a lot of retirees, Adam?
Sorry?
Was there a lot of retirees?
No, it was a mix.
There was a lot of young people, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Tony's put in the chat, it needs to be close for rigging to be successful. Sam, what do you have to say about that?
Tony, cheap seats outside the ring.
All right, so
Stephen, how was your experience with it, mate?
The same. There was a couple of times two times I picked up where they had some no votes in the yes pile that I had to point out to them. But apart from that, it was a very quick process. It only took probably about 45 minutes for it all to be wrapped up. They count it,
yes or no?
They count it once, they count it twice. There's a big sorting method as well. So I walked and I said to the AEC staff, I said, it gives me a lot of faith in the process. And they said, thank you for saying that, because I'm sure they cop a lot of stuff all the time.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing to mine, and the same thing. And it's a very manual process. It's not computerized. It's not digital. So it is people sitting at a desk, literally at a bench, literally counting. And then it's not even like they're flat, because excuse me, sorry. People are people fold their paper in half. Some people fold it 3 times. Some people fold it 6 times. So the papers are all all over the place. And I had the same issue as well. I had an innocent. I witnessed the whole thing. And it was just an innocent mistake. It was an innocent human mistake. And the fella just he had a pile of they make piles of 50. So our counters did piles of 10 and then stacked them into piles of 50, 5 piles of 10, which make 50, and that's how they counted them. And when they double checked the count, they had a pile of 42. And then there was, so then they had to go and to try and make that a solid pack of 50. They went to go and find some yes votes because it was the yes vote pile. And I'm here, I'm scrutineering, I'm watching the whole thing. I'm seeing what's going on. Anyway, somebody said, there's some yeses over, there's a yes over on that table there. So he just went and just grabbed 8 yeses where he thought they were. Admittedly, he didn't check, but, he's running around trying to count and do stuff and whatever. People running around him and whatnot. And I just said, challenge, you're trying to put a couple of no's with some yeses. Oh my God, he could have died. He could have died. It was so innocent. He's like, oh my God, freaked out. So sorry for my voice today, guys. It was just it was amazing. It was an amazing experience, and I'm glad I got to do it. And anyone who I reckon I can scrutiny train a little bit now.
We've got a caller waiting. Evan, sorry, mate. You need to connect your microphone at least. It won't let me add you. So if you're waiting in the background to come on and have your say, you need to be able to connect the microphone, and you don't have to come on with your camera. We would prefer it if you did, but you don't have to. But you would at least need a microphone so we can hear you. So maybe give it another shot, because I saw you waiting there, but there was no way I can add you. It just won't let me. So maybe try your phone. That's usually the best way of doing it. But I brought up with Jeff the winners and losers of this referendum, and he said there's no winners and losers. Well, here's my list, because I'm gonna disagree with Jeff. I think probably the winner of this is Jacinta Price.
Yeah.
And you could probably say a little bit the same with Warren Mundine, but way more Jacinta. I think she was more composed. I think Warren lost it a little bit more, and I've got a clip of Warren losing it
last night. He lost a bit.
Last night
he snapped it at the media.
He had to go. That was at Patricia Carvelis too.
Well, I might bring that up quickly before we move on, just if I can.
But again, he got abused at the pre-poll on Friday near me, and because Warren lives near me, and they abused him, the yes people.
Yeah, this is from news.com.au. This is what we're referring to.
Just in the ANC. You know what? People are committing suicides in these communities. People are being raped and beaten, and this is the questions you come up with. Where's about getting results, getting people reducing suicide, and instead of this nonsense that you people carry on with? It's about time. We had a vote tonight that said Australians want to get things done.
So you can understand he's just gone through a big election campaign, but you need a little bit more composure.
6 months of hard work going around the whole country. You got to be mentally very strong and stay on message.
Yeah. So look, Jacinta all the way. She was composed. She was. We've got some comments here from Tony. She said she can't come on in person because she's not as pretty as Buono or as smart. Well, what do you have to say about that?
I'm better than that, Tony. I'm smarter and more sexier. I can't help myself.
Jesus. Well, look, this is my list of losers. I think obviously Anthony Albanese. I think he the first thing he said when he won the federal election was that his Labor government were going to implement the Uluru Statement in full. And even when he came out last night, he said that was still their intention. So, I mean, you've had almost 60% of the nation say no to that. So it's a big loss.
That was funny because when I saw when I was watching the interview, somebody asked him that question. A reporter asked him that question. How you promised that you were going to instate the Uluru Statement in full. Are you still going to do that? And he goes, "We just had a referendum." You know what I mean? Like, I think they're going to drop it I think they'll drop it like a ton of bricks. I don't think you're going to hear much about this voice or Labor banging on about this voice thing. They're going to try to distance themselves, I reckon.
Well, my second on the list is Peter Dutton. And the reason why I say Peter Dutton was because he put Jacinta out there. So he's put Jacinta out there. She's outperformed. She's a star. And a lot of people were saying, well, that's the future Prime Minister of Australia right there. And no one's thinking about Peter Dutton. I think in some ways he did have to put her in the forefront because obviously she's an Indigenous voice and it carries more weight as opposed to Dutton, who just looks like a plain stale white piece of bread. But I think it's hurt him. I think it's hurt him as leader. What do you think, Sam?
No, I think they'll demon, but he's very disciplined. He won't listen to what they say on Twitter. He won't listen to what the ABC's saying. He'll stay on message, he's doing a lot of work in the background, especially in the New South Wales Liberal Party, where he's trying to straighten them out and stuff like that. Like they've got
my third, and I'll give you guys the opportunity to give your winners and losers if you have them, but my third is Pauline Hanson. And I say this because Pauline came out very early on saying, I'm on the no side and I'm going to campaign heavily on this. Well,
so did the Nats.
Yeah, but she didn't really get any traction. No one really
paid any attention. Got a bit of traction this time last year when they said.
So that's why I say Pauline, because this should have been an issue that I think she really should. This was an opportunity for her to get a lot of attention and to put forward her arguments, but I don't think she really got much oxygen.
No, I think they would tell. This is my opinion. The Fair Australia told Pauline, "We don't want you as a public figure." Maybe our data saying that you might be okay in Queensland, but around the country you're not that. We've got Jacinta, so maybe Pauline. I don't know. Was Pauline on the ground around Queensland? Who knows? No one saw her.
I think they did put something out on social medias that I think they launched 1,200 volunteers. So they did work in the background to build up a strong volunteer base to get out on there on the no campaign and things like that. So I'm sure that obviously they did work. I do agree with you as well. I don't think we saw Pauline on TV enough. I haven't seen her on TV for a while now. Regarding any of this kind of thing. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure myself. Maybe what's happened in New South Wales has maybe taken a bit. I don't know. Who knows?
So, looking at the actual results, Sam, and I guess the reason why we get you on here is not your unbelievable political commentary, but also
my sexy looks and my.
Well, you look a lot better than you do. Look a lot better than you did last time, I must say. But we bring you on here because of your polling ability and your stats and everything. Looking at the results, is there anywhere in particular that you would like to highlight, or any results that shocked you, or was it pretty much, straight up and down?
I thought the teal seats might get a bit closer. I thought they'd be a bit closer everywhere, but I'll find it very difficult how Liberals going to win a seat. McKellar's a guide, but I was surprised how strong it was in Warringah and Wentworth and even Kooyong and then Goldstein. And although in Western Australia, the teal seat of Curtin, that's one line board. It's 51-49 to the yes side, but obviously postal votes and all that will always favour the Liberals who vote no. So they'll be line ball. It might be like McKellar. They'll be line ball. We won't know that for a couple more days. I was just shocked. I was shocked, especially out your way in Macarthur and even in Hume, which is the other electorate next to Adam, and where it was 70% to the yes vote in Hume, which starts at basically Warringah Dam all the way back to almost into Canberra, And
there was 70% to the yes or no?
To the no, sorry, to the no.
Yeah, sorry. Challenge.
Yeah, that's right.
Were you
and one of the very most diverse, if you go to Macquarie, it's such a diverse electorate. It starts at the Blue Mountains and it goes all the way to Rouse Hill. It goes to Bilpin on the around the Bilpin and all that sort of thing. That's probably a very stark. You go to Macquarie, mate.
Yeah, Macquarie.
And you see you see where Bilpin is on the southern northern end, which is all pro, and then you go to Blackheath, it's 50-60% the other way. It's nothing close. It's either yes or no. Bligh Park is big yes, big no's. If you go to Tylo Heights, or if you go to Falcon Bridge in the mountains, it's the other way around. It's a massive difference. Gembrook is all along the up the Blue Mountains is all pro yes, about 60%. But if you go up towards Richmond and Kermond and Bilpin, it's all 50-60% the other way. And amazing, it was 70%. So that's why it's always a close seat, because it's always Labor in the Blue Mountains, and it's Liberal around Bilpin all the way down to Richmond, Windsor, and Rouse Hill and things like that. So it's such a diverse, unbelievable. Like I went to the Outback 2 weeks ago, and we drove up the mountains, and you go up Falcon Bridge and into all the way up to Katoomba. It's just there was yes pamphlets everywhere. It was just every 200 meters there was always a yes thing there and all that sort of stuff like that. And there was just a million of them. You get to Lithgow and Kim. North Sydney was 60-40 on the yes side. That was comfortable.
Kim asked the question about North Sydney. I'll bring it up quickly now. Another teal seat. This is Kyle. I can never pronounce the name. Kylia Tink.
Kylia Tink. Yeah.
So this is your area, Sam. But look at it all here. 60s. Yeah. I mean, Camaray Central is almost 70%. It's a small booth, fair enough. But Camaray South also almost 70% yes.
You look at Hunters Hill, which is even Hunters Hill. Hunters Hill is generally 60% Liberal. That's one of the safest booths in Sydney. Yeah, even I've gone to the yes side for these sort. Once again, high income, vote yes, and all that sort of stuff like that. That's real diverse. But another thing, another seat which is a Green Labor is seat of Richmond, which is based around Ballina, Byron Bay up to Lismore and stuff, all that sort of stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. So they're almost 57% no.
No, but once again, it's diverse. If you go to Ballina and Byron Bay, it's 60%. If you go further north, it's more no. You get away from the Byron Bay, all sort of things like that. And once again, you're right, Tony. They look at the Hunter and Patterson and Shortland, like from Maitland all the way up to Muswellbrook and Scone. It was just, I couldn't believe it. The Hunter Valley was just, I think it's 66% no. And even some that we said in Wallsend, which is part of Newcastle, like that's generally 70% Labor in a normal election. Well, there's 60% no, which I found extraordinary around there.
Now, obviously, we're focusing a lot on New South Wales because that's where we live, and that's where we're drawing upon our experience. We've mentioned electorates like Warringah and Wentworth, and inner city seats that were polling 60% or so. But the overall New South Wales vote is 59.5%. So right. What's pulling the vote towards the no if a lot of the yes?
Well, I'm surprised that those seats in the Newcastle and the Hunter Valley, but also up on the North Coast, like the seat of Lyon and what's the other seat up there? Lyon and Cowper. They went 70%, 65% no. But anywhere outside past Stratfield, even past Petersham, and Newtown and up to Hornsby. Everywhere else it was just a sea of no. It's just everywhere. On the other side of the mountains, it's all 70%.
So guys, like, what's pushing to the no? Like, what's tilting the scale to the no vote? Like, what electorates are doing it?
Because let me just show you this. This is Grainler. This is Anthony Albanese's seat, right? And we scroll down to look at these booths. Annandale North, 83.8% yes. Yeah, Ashfield, 80% yes. Balmain, 77%. I'm just picking some of these randomly. Camperdown, 87% yes.
Well, that's probably like the Camperdown's a very famous booth because that's all the university students from Sydney Uni.
Marrickville Central, 86% yes.
Well, that's Albo. That's where Albo lives. You know.
I mean, I grew up in this area. You wouldn't be having much fun being a no campaigner on these booths.
Funny enough, I drove past Leichhardt Town Hall on Wednesday or Tuesday this week. And I just walked around. There's two entrances. There was basically the no campaign. There was 10 yes people. And I said to one of them, "Oh, not much competition here." There was not one no person there. I don't blame him because if there was a no person there, mate, I reckon you get shot. You know.
Mm.
You know?
Well, even out my way,
basically the no campaign. Basically, we've given up the inner. Don't worry about the inner city. Let's go west, or go into the suburbs and all that sort of stuff, or go somewhere. Forget about that. They're all going to be big yeses. So what's the point of campaigning, flogging a dead horse? You know.
I think it's a decent strategy. I think when your numbers are limited, and you're doing a grassroots campaign like you're doing that, you might as well focus where you're strong. So what happens is you can get away with cover more booths. One person at a booth like I was, as I said, I was 6-1, and my booth, the booth that I did was, you know,
we got your. This is Macarthur. This is your area, Adam, as Zahra for Macarthur.
Yeah,
65% no.
Yes.
So that's what was the booth that you were at?
I was at St Andrews South.
Okay, so that's 31% yes.
Yeah, so there was a massive. So we were at 68.9% no, and there was 6 yes campaigners to 1 no campaigner. I got to admit, I did have my daughter did no campaign with me for a while, and I did have another friend come across, for an hour just to relieve me for a minute so I could, be a human. And what happens is, that it was, we knew, obviously with the way that the vote went, and the yes was the Titanic and sunk. But what happens is, you can utilize far less people. Can you do me a favor and go to St Andrews?
Just quickly, Richard Storch, I see you online, mate. I'll give you a ring sometime next couple of days.
Well, Richard's just said, what about the strong no vote from the Chinese population? Was it 80% plus? What are the implications?
I can't find that around here, mate. I can't.
Well, look, Richard, if you want to come on live, I've just put the link in the
online,
chat,
mate. Richard, get online, mate.
I also see.
Get your missus to get you online.
I also see Papa Brian in the chat. Hey, we'd love to speak to you, Brian, as well. I've got the link in the chat if you want to come on live and have your say for 5 minutes. I would love to hear from you. Kim's just said, yes, go Western Sydney. I'm volunteering with you on 25. But Adam, you want to bring up a booth? Which booth was it?
I was just going to say, because the St Andrews booth by itself.
Yeah, so 36.2% to the yes.
All right, so that's So what happens is that booth weren't able to man that one all day. You know what I mean? So what happens is we had, my point was trying to say, when you're focusing on the outer west or where you're strong, you can do more with less. So you can have, where you can have one person on the booth and they can go up against, say, 6 yes campaigners. You can have that booth at St Andrews only had 1 yes person there. So then you can see how strong out west it was. Like that, we had no one there all day. We had some volunteers, some lovely volunteers did volunteer a little bit later on in the afternoon for that booth and helped out a lot. But what I'm saying is, you can. I think the no campaign did well with the structure of utilizing where they're going to their people the best.
So they campaigned that. I think they did a lot of work in South Australia and Tasmania.
What was your opinion of South Australia, Sam? Because
unbelievably shocked. I thought the inner city, even the inner cities of Adelaide, like Boothby and the seat of Sturt, I thought they'd be heavily yes. They both won 51, 52, 48, you know. But even around working class on the northern suburbs of Adelaide, which is strong Labor, that's 60% Labor, it was 60%, over 60% no, you know. I always knew that the two remote seats in West and South Australia were always going to be a hard yet no. But I didn't think the working class or the inner city of Adelaide. But again, on Friday night, Newspoll put their late poll out, their last pre-poll, and they said they broke down the states, and I found it shocked. And the bloke on Twitter said he was shocked by, I think Newspoll said 35-65 or 36-64 to the no side in South Australia. And you read on Twitter, said smart ones on Twitter, not rat bags. They said that must be wrong. They were proven right.
I've got Evan trying to jump on again. Evan, please maybe use your phone, mate, because you need
use
to
your
have
iPhone, mate.
Use your phone, because that's probably the best way to jump on. Your audio should select automatically, but I don't know what device you're trying to use, but it's not letting you in, mate. So keep trying. We'd love to hear from you. But Sam,
g'day, Evan. How you going, mate? And Kim, if you want to come out Western Sydney to volunteer in 2025, I'll be happy.
Roo busy, wherever your name is, mate. The Central Coast, I was surprised by that. The two seats of Robertson and what's the other one? Robertson and what's the other seat? Hold on. Robertson and
so Robertson's 50
and Dobell. Robertson and Dobell. Dobell was 64.9 to the no. And in Robertson, which is around Gosford, Erina, and all that, the southern side of the Central Coast. Where is it?
This is Dobell here, 60, almost 65% no.
50% and 57.5% in Robertson, which is basically that's the older part, the richer on the water side of Terrigal and Wambrel and all the way up down the Woy, basically on the other side of the Hawkesbury River, or halfway up to Wyong.
Some of these booths are 50-50, but this is going to be fun. Let's welcoming on Papa Brian.
G'day, Papa Brian.
Hello. Welcome from Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Good to see you again. Were you keeping up to date with everything over there? You're coming on very clear as well. Very good image there from all the way from Indonesia.
Yeah, thank goodness for that, because sometimes it's a bit dodgy, isn't it, guys? But doing well. What? Yes, I've been following it and listening to my Indigenous brothers and sisters, and there's a very interesting comment made by one from the southwest of Perth, and her comment was this: one tribe cannot speak for another tribe.
That's true. Right. Yeah.
Love it. And I think what's happened, guys, is that the Indigenous Australians have actually got behind the no vote, and that's influenced the wider community, particularly Jacinta Price. What an incredible Australian. I'd be voting for her for Prime Minister, to be honest.
You got to find her a safe seat.
Yeah, you got to find her a safe seat.
Amazing woman. And what's really hit me now is that there's been a cockiness beyond arrogance because of the Labor election was like landslide. They've taken for granted the will of the people. If they don't listen to the will of the people, they will self-destruct, I can tell you. And conservatism in Oceania, New Zealand and Australia, I believe that there is a turning of the tables. There's a backflip, and I'm sensing from even those that voted Labor, strong Labor supporters are saying a enough of this rubbish. When are we going to deal with cost of living? When are we going to deal with my voice that needs to be heard? You see, guys, what have we got? 11 Indigenous brothers and sisters in Parliament already? 11?
Right. That's right.
Well, that's a powerful voice. And I believe the younger, get this, it's the millennials, it's the younger generation are saying, wait a minute, I need to have a voice here. And so you're going to find it wasn't just, and I don't have the statistics, but you might find that younger Australians have come out with a decisive no in this campaign. I'd love to know the age group, if that can be attained, you know?
Well, I can tell you, Brian, when I was out at the booth, and Manly was a very heavy yes booth, but there was a lot of younger ones, like ones that couldn't vote, 14, 12. They were giving us thumbs up. They were fist pumping all the no people. So that age group seemed to be aware that they were all no supporters. But if the next levels up, maybe the ones that are getting indoctrinated in university or whatever, or early in the workforce, they seem to be heavy yes.
Well, absolutely. Papa, I can also say I've had feedback from anecdotal feedback from some of my supporters and things like that in my area, and they're saying that their kids that are over 18, so the younger ones, 18, 22, stuff like that, a lot of them told their parents that they voted no as well. So you are getting the youngest, and one of the supporters who rang me, he's like, the young kids, he says, we can't discount those younger people now, because the younger people are pretty switched on. They've been pretty quiet and they're pretty easygoing, but they're starting to really smell it now. They're starting to really see it and speak up.
And I think, guys, can I just add one more point? I'll let you guys get on with it. Right. But the Labor government has ignored the Asian population in Australia, and we have a large Asian population. And the Asian cultural background is one of respect and consideration. I'm telling you, it's respect and consideration. And when you start to dominate and you start to disrespect and put one ahead of another, then you're going to have that population turn against you. And I believe the Albanese government has not considered the Asian population, and it's a large percentage now Papa, within Australia. It's not small.
Papa, are you talking about mainland China, or are you talking more Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Indonesia?
I'm talking about, I'm talking about Chinese background, which is Malaysian, Singapore, Indonesian. These all have, contrary to what Australians think, they all have a Chinese background, right?
But you're not talking about mainland China.
No. So that's my take on it, guys. But fantastic result.
I live right next to a heavy Hong Kong population, and their voting booths were 50-50 in those booths in where I live near me, which is about a mile away, and that was all 50. I thought it'd be more no, but it was all around about 50-50. If anything, a little bit less on the yes side than no side.
I'd like to kind of analyse that more, get some more data about that, because I think there are some other considerations. The children of Chinese. Sorry.
There's a website that you should use, a website called pollbludget.net that breaks down every booth in Australia, every booth from Bondi to Perth.
I want to ask you a question before we let you go. We've obviously interviewed you twice before, and you've mentioned that you, in a previous life, you worked in Indigenous communities, Aboriginal communities, as a headmaster and a teacher.
Yep.
Were you surprised when we look at the Northern Territory and some Aboriginal areas, they were strong no voters? Were you surprised by that?
No, because I wasn't, and I tell you why. Because each community has its own DNA. And what they could see was that a voice was being promoted that wasn't necessarily going to serve them. And what they want is that each community is heard, their voice is heard from a governmental point of view in their local area, their local government. And so I wasn't surprised because they could see that some of those that were speaking, now please hear me right, some of those that were speaking for the yes vote, Indigenous Australians, these were politicised Australians who had a vested political interest, and they weren't going to represent each Indigenous community around Australia. And that's why the no vote was so strong coming out of those communities, because the people that were representing them were not truly representative and they wouldn't get a voice. It was Brian, always going to be a self-interest.
Brian, but those people, they represented the Redfern Indigenous people.
The what, sorry?
The Redfern people. The inner city Redfern people. Yeah. So
that is an isolated, that is a community that's representative of that community. But see, what we've got, I believe, is that those with the loudest voice, those with a vested interest, and who have had support in the past. See, there's called the inner circle, I believe, politically. There's an Indigenous inner circle. And that's why the Indigenous communities, by and large, said, no, we're not taking part of this. I call it a purple circle. Purple circle.
Because funny enough, Papa, I went about 7 hours west of Sydney, in the northwest near Warringah and stuff like that.
That one time at band camp?
About an hour south. I went to a place called Canamble and I did a long drive out there, 7 hours drive west of Sydney. And
right.
And I just noticed there was a lot of Indigenous people, which in Canamble, 3,500 people, and they live harmoniously with white people and stuff like that. So, and they seem to be happy in their lives. I don't know. I've met a few of them. They seem to be happy in the way they went about their lives. That's all.
Well, they don't want to create any divisions. They want to be seen, and it's true that their voices need to be represented, but that can be done from a local community level with a local government level. But the issue is that they don't want to, by and large, cause any issue in division, because in Aboriginal society, division is frowned upon. It's not accepted. It's not. And that's one of the reasons why Jacinta Price says this is going to divide our own Indigenous communities. And that is something that Indigenous Australians do not embrace division. So that was one of the reasons, I think, too, or another reason why the no vote was just so strong coming out of those communities. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on, Brian. It's good to hear from you again, and we've had you on, as I said, twice in the past. We'd love to have you on again in the future. But how's just final question? How's everything going in Indonesia with your refuge house?
Yeah, fantastic. We've got more girls coming in, and it's a challenge, but it's great that each of these girls are having a bit of a safe house. And because of the economic conditions in the islands east of Bali, for instance, there's quite a deal of poverty. So we're going pretty strong here, and really, yeah. But look, we're just committed, and so far, the good Lord has given us everything we need each day. So that's all we need.
Yep. Well, keep up the good work, mate. Good to speak to you, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for coming on.
See you, Papa.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
See ya.
Okay, we've got another caller waiting as well. I guess we'll have them on straight away. Sam laid down the challenge. Here he is.
G'day, Richard.
How you going, son?
Got to turn your mute
I
off.
can't hear you.
Good evening, all. How are you?
Oh, perfect.
How you going, Richard? Good to see you, mate.
Well done.
Did your missus get you online, did he?
Yep, she did. You got it together for me.
Now, Richard, do you mind maybe giving people a little bit of an introduction, letting them know maybe a little bit about yourself? We saw you commenting in the chat, and you made a comment, and Sam's welcomed you on the show to discuss that comment. It was about the Chinese voting demographic.
Well, I was on booths at Willoughby and Mowbray, and it was very, very noticeable that the Chinese voted almost as a block no. The only variation that I could see was the odd young person or someone that was in a mixed, or how would you say,
a mixed marriage.
A mixed marriage or relationship with someone of a different ethnicity. So that was really quite fascinating, and it didn't matter what the Yes campaigners did; they still basically did what they were determined to do. But it might have been different in other electorates, but in North Sydney, that's the way it was. It was very.
The problem was, Richard, is the white woman that still voted yes, didn't they?
Well, there's lots of doctors' wives and rich entitled elitists in North Sydney, as we know.
Same where we were as well.
Yeah,
there's a lot of white people there. But I did, now that you bring it up, I did notice the few Asian people that did come in and vote, and there weren't too many because it's heavy white. I was at North Kelco, and it's just heavily white there. No, but they were voting. They seemed to be voting no. You never know for sure exactly how people vote, but they were only taking the no flyer and nothing else. So these are more elderly Asian sort of people.
Yeah, that was one of the fascinating things. In an election, people don't tell you how they vote, but in this referendum, people gave you nods or winks or thumbs up or whatever it was. They told you what they were doing. They were happy to tell you what they were doing. It was very different.
And people were actually commenting that they didn't need the how to vote cards because it's yes or no. You know what I mean? They were actually, it was kind of almost like they were some people were getting offended at my booth because I'm like, I just have to write yes or no in the box, right? They didn't tell you what you're going to do, but I don't need that. Save a tree.
Yeah, a lot of people said that to me yesterday. A lot of people said, "Oh, I don't need it. We'll save the tree and stuff like that." So, okay, fair enough. But it's more. I had a couple of people say, "I know we got Richard." They said, "We know what we're doing. We don't need any of this sort of stuff these days." Did you get a lot of that?
Yeah, I got a lot of resentment about this. Oh, gee, I have to do this. You know, why do I have to do this? This is a waste of my time. You know, a lot of that, and that's the way I felt too.
Yeah,
well,
it's like
as far as I'm concerned, the Prime Minister's taken 2 weeks of my life with his exercise in neurosis.
And
you know, he's trying to prove he's a man of substance. Well, he's proven the exact opposite. What a moron.
From what I understand, Richard, you were at the booth where Warren Mundine was heckled and I guess abused by Yes campaigners. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I arrived there at 10:15, knowing that he was coming. The television crews were there, and the Yes campaign flooded the booth with about 30 activists who were all chanting yes. And the reason I don't have a voice is because I bellowed over the top of them no. And I was standing with Auntie Susie, who's the local Aboriginal elder, Camaragal elder. And she introduced me to Warren as her bodyguard because I was there at her shoulder for most of the time. And that's why he shook my hand and gave me a hug.
Wow.
So it was quite a moment. But
I was angry, Richard. I was angry. I said, "What are these people trying to do?"
That's how they operate, Sam. They did the same thing in Warringah in 2022. John Howard was campaigning with Catherine Deeves, and they flooded the place. And John Howard was doing a press conference, and they're all holding the Zahra Stegel flyers up behind him. I'm like, you just don't need to do that. I don't understand who you're trying to win over by doing that. You just look like a bunch of thugs. So you're not winning any votes.
What happened then was because I was resisting them, the manager of the United Church came out and shut me down, and then she had to shut them down. So the upshot of it was that he got to give his his interview with the press in absolute silence. So I was very gratified at the outcome. In other words, they failed. And that's what you've got to do with these people. You've got to stand up to them because they're cowards. They run away.
And honestly, you hit them with a fact. Their brains explode.
Exactly.
Now, where do you live, Richard? You sound like you're in the middle of
He's in the middle of a bush.
He is almost.
I sort of am. I live in Middle Cove.
Looks like you've definitely got all the wildlife around you.
Yeah. We've usually got frogs and birds and everything else. Awesome. It's a nice part of the world.
So
you'll see it soon.
Where does Australia go from here, mate?
Well, I think we're going to get a new Prime Minister. I'm with you. I think Bill Shorten will knife Albo. I hope he takes his time over it, makes it as messy and bloody as possible. And but he's got a constraint on him. If he doesn't get on with it, he won't have enough time to prepare for the election. I'm interested in Sam's prediction. It'll be March 2025. I think he'll need more time than that. I think he'll need 12 to 18 months so the public can forget how much they hate him.
Yeah.
Well, that means he's got to soften him up. He's got to put a coup on before Christmas then.
But see, I've got a $100 bet with a friend of mine who predicts the next Labor Prime Minister will be Andrew Charlton. And that's who it should be.
Who?
That's who it should be. I mean, Andrew Charlton's wonderful, but he's only been there for 18 months and Albo's kept him on the backbench, even though he's an economics professor from Oxford. I mean, he's the smartest person in Parliament on any side. But if Shorten's got a window of opportunity before Charlton's ready to take on the leadership, so he doesn't have all day. He's got to get on with it.
Well, basically, he's got to do two because he's basically got to stand. He's got to be prepared to take him on before Christmas and then go back on the backbench and do what Keating did to Hawke in the early 90s, where have one go at him and then backstab him in the backbench and maybe get him done by mid-year.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. I've got the popcorn.
I'm not convinced by that, Richard. I've told you that personally. I'm not convinced that will happen.
Now, Richard, I saw you at the after party last night, and you're proudly wearing your Liberal Democrats hat.
Sure did. All the time.
What is your opinion of how John Ruddock's doing? He's just been, elected into the New South Wales Parliament. He's only been there a short time. You think he's doing a good job?
Well, John's got a powerful voice, and he's a huge intellect. I really admire him, but it's very early days, and he doesn't have a following yet. I don't think, which is a pity. But these things may come.
And do you think the minor parties will merge one day, or do you think the Lib Dems should carry on? I
don't think they should. I think we all have our own identities. What we need to do is form an alliance and have a joint ticket in the upper house so that the Liberals can't play us off against each other with preference deals. That's a good step forward. It doesn't matter who we get up out of that joint ticket. I don't think what we need to do is form a counterweight to the Greens.
Well, that's definitely needed. That's definitely needed. Well, thank you for coming on, Richard. It's always a pleasure to see you as well. If anyone wants to join us, I'm just posting the link in the chat now. you can just use that link. You can come on using your phone or your laptop. I was thinking before we had Evan trying to come on, if you've had your privacy settings, I know a lot of people turn their microphone off in the privacy settings because they don't want anyone listening to them, but you won't be able to jump on because you need your microphone to work if you're using your phone. So maybe unlock that microphone setting. I just popped into my mind because Evan was saying he's trying to use his Samsung and he's still.
But Richard,
yes,
Richard, just personally, thanks what you've done the last 2 weeks, mate. You've done super. You know?
It was an honour to serve my people and my country.
Yeah.
And
I second that because from what I heard, the Yes Camp was getting paid to volunteer. I didn't have that confirmed.
Yep, lots of activists. Absolutely right.
A lot of them in my area were Get Up.
A lot of people were getting time off work without losing annual leave. Right, so we're really up against it. And you know what Tim said last night, Tim James, about how campaigning, if you're outnumbered 6-1, you might as well go home and forget about it. And we were outnumbered at least 12, if not 24 to 1.
At least.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is a victory for the little guy.
Well, it's about passion, but it's a passionate thing. If you've got passion for it, if you believe in the cause, you're going to fight twice as hard. And I made that, everyone who on the No campaign would have made sure where possible to stick a how to vote card in somebody's hand.
Absolutely. Yeah. We didn't leave anything in the change room.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, hats off to you, Richard. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Quickly, Richard. Natalie Dumer was on before.
Yeah. I've been asking you to come for ages. You didn't take any notice of me.
1st of November is the next one. I'll pick you up and we'll go into town.
Great. I can get drunk.
I'll pick up in your place. I'll ring you soon.
All right.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, you mate. Catch you soon.
Catch up, mate. Good guy.
Right, well, we've been on for quite some time now. As I said, if anyone wants to jump on quickly before we wrap up, the link is in the chat. Just we're happy to speak to anyone tonight, as always. But we want just quickly get your opinion on a couple of other issues, Sam, before we wrap it all up. We've spoken a little bit about the New Zealand election. That's gone to the Conservative side of things, but the next big election coming up will be the US presidential election.
Yep.
It's looking like it will be Trump, and it's looking like it will be Biden. But
I'm not convinced of Biden. I don't know. The left media are really hacking into him now.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe they're planning to see it. So maybe it won't be Biden, but it looks like it will be Trump. RFK Jr. has turned independent.
He might cause a few problems because he might get votes off Republicans.
Well, I tell you what, I think that, and a lot of people out there, they're saying, he's going to take votes off Democrats. No, I don't think so. I think he will take votes off the Trump supporters or the Republican supporters that are anti the COVID jabs, because you got to remember that Trump was heavy on the vaccines and pushing them, and he's still pushing them, whereas RFK's been against all that from the start. He wrote the book about Fauci. I think that RFK Jr. putting his hand up as an independent will take votes, and maybe a lot of votes, off Donald Trump.
And what he'll do is, I think, there's in Arizona don't like Trump because he bagged McCain. Republicans in Arizona love McCain. He's like the royal family down there. And if it's Trump versus with an independent, they'll vote independent because they hate Trump in Arizona. And Arizona's critical. Arizona is one of the key states. Everyone talks about the Rust Belt, but closer than that, you got to win Arizona now.
So then with your track record, we know Trump's safe then.
You're probably right, but I'm just saying. I read something the other day that there's still a lot of anti-Trump in Arizona because he demonized McCain and McCain's like royalty in Arizona.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
But he might take votes off. He might take some votes in the Rust Belt too, in Ohio and Michigan and stuff like that.
Well, that's going to be an interesting one.
Where's he from? Is he from Massachusetts?
Who? RFK.
Kennedy.
Oh, I'm not quite sure.
If he's from a home state, he'll get. If he's from Arizona, for example, or he's from North Dakota, he'll get because he's a.
I don't know about that. Half his family just came out against him the other day, so.
That's family. That's family, but
that's family. He's not the only one.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. We've discussed a lot tonight. This has been a lot of fun. I hope everyone's enjoyed the live streams and they're enjoying the live streams. We're going to keep it going. So I guess every 8 o'clock on a Sunday, barring maybe we have a guest that can't do that and we have to reschedule. But normally it will be 8 o'clock on a Sunday. If you can join us and comment and jump on, you can always call in. I call this talkback streaming, not talkback radio. Talkback streaming. It's been great having people call in and commenting as well. Thanks for tonight. Very informative.
Adam Kim said you need some lemon, honey, and some garlic.
I was just reading it. I've got some of that stuff. Thanks, Kim. I'm gonna go and have one in a minute. Get a little bit of dinner because 2 hours.
I think it's been great because it shut Adam up for once. So
I haven't been cutting over. I haven't been cutting in on you, Stephen.
Now, Sam. We normally finish off with our final segment, build your own fantasy government, but you did that last time you were on, and Tony always brings it up that you put Penny Wong and Allegra Spender on there, but we might mix it. We might mix it up tonight. I want you to give everyone your top 5 prime ministers.
Not necessarily in order. What I've known from Gough onwards. You're talking about from Gough onwards when I was a kid.
Your opinion.
Whatever you like.
I thought Hawke was a great. He's almost the godfather of Australia. Hawke was a very. He could have a beer with you. He have a beer with you, and all that sort of stuff. Like he was a real locker, but very intellectual.
Yeah, but he was like just because he's a good knockabout bloke.
He did a lot of reforms. He did a lot of reforms. He couldn't do if he tried to do.
Sorry, I'm laughing because Tony's just said he's going to say Gillard.
Cheap seats outside the ring again, Tony. Getting pretty boring.
All right, so you got Hawke. Hawke. I liked Hawke. I thought Hawke was charismatic anyway.
Howard. Keating called a spade a shovel. He pushed through and could he was old-fashioned politics. But that's before social media.
Well, but I would argue that Keating was a great treasurer, but not so good a prime minister.
Well, he only had 3 years, and his agenda was more of trying to get into Asia. He wasn't interested in domestic politics by then.
All right.
When he was prime minister in 93 to 96, it was all about foreign affairs.
Does that make him a great prime minister?
Well, who else is there? I couldn't. Can't stand Albo. Turnbull is the lowest form of human being I've ever met. Rudd. Morrison couldn't make a decision. He fucked everyone. I'm sorry. He stuffed everyone else up. Hey, it took me 2 hours to say it. It's
after 9:30. It's after 9:30. It's after 9:30. You can say you see the ads on TV after 9:30. Okay.
Richard, I wasn't alive for Menzies. I can remember as a kid when I remember Gough got sacked when I was in primary school. So I can't comment on Menzies, mate. I'll give you Richard. I'll give you Menzies then. And I despised Rudd and Turnbull. Abbott wasn't there long enough, So I can only name 3 prime ministers really deep down. Well, looking back on Hawke, Hawke was just a unifier. He kept unified. That's all. He did a lot of stuff. He did a lot of reforms, consensus, and all that sort of stuff like that. And he was a healer. Sure, he was a womanizer. And these days, he wouldn't be around. But he was a knocker black bloke. He got the country was still divided from Whitlam. There was a lot of stuff. It was only 7 years after Whitlam got sacked in 1975, and he was prime minister. So he was more of a healing prime minister. Did a lot of reforms, and also too, what you got to remember is with Hawke, Howard and them, they in the opposition then were very, very. It was all consensus. There was a lot of those economic reforms were not just introduced by Keating and Hawke, but Howard and some of the liberal members were in the background, trying to get things done for the country. And that's why we've been recession-free for 30 years.
Well, Evan says Bob was a grub. So Nathan says, give us your list, Adam and Stephen. Adam?
I don't think we've had the greatest Prime Minister of Australia yet.
I didn't ask that. I said, who are your top five?
Who are my top five?
I can name three.
All right, name top three. Top three.
All right, so I'm 40, which is just a little bit younger than Sam. I'm 42 and a little bit older than Stephen. So I don't remember that many prime ministers. Okay, but I remember Hawke as a kid. He stood out. Okay, because very charismatic, very kind of. I always thought he was a kind of a cool dude. And I also remember Fast Forward, with the puppets, and they used to do. I remember that. So right, yeah. I liked Hawke. You know what I mean? I don't know if he did good or not for the country. I don't know.
He did a lot of economic reforms, mate.
Because it was Medicare, wasn't it?
Wasn't
it Medicare?
Medicare, but floated the dollar. Yeah. Floating of the dollar really poured us. There was a lot of heartache at the time, but when he floated the dollar, we lived off the sheep's back in those days, and suddenly we had to be more flexible, all that sort of stuff like that.
I remember Paul Keating. Wouldn't say that he was greatest or whatever, but I thought I lived my best life under the Howard government. I remember that year when
you better change it, Adam, by becoming PM so we can have the greatest.
I'm not the greatest, don't worry. I am. I doubt that would happen. But I was going to say, but I'll fight very hard for Nathan. I'll fight very hard for the people the best way I can. That's what I'm here to do. That's my job.
Since Howard got lost in 2000, look, think about the prime minister we've had.
Who was the treasurer? Who was the treasurer? Costello. Remember that year? I remember that year. Like I was a factory worker. I was working in a factory. Not that it was bad. It was my choice. I was working in a factory, and that was that Howard Costello era was by far the best. I had more money. I earned more money. I had more money, and cost of living was the best I ever been. And I think I earn more money now than I did back then, and my cost of living is my lifestyle is way less than it was back then.
Yeah.
So I would put Howard Costello era. That was probably, I reckon, the greatest.
Well, it was the same as in the 80s of Hawke and Keating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Stephen, it's your turn.
Did you say anyone, or you just said who you remembered?
Well, I was saying I haven't got five of my top, but I think Hawke. I liked Hawke for his charisma. So that I don't whether he did anything good for the country or not. I don't know. And then because I was only a kid, and then Howard was definitely obviously the one that I think was the best, even though I'm not really mad fan of what he did to the farmers and whatnot. And then everyone else after that's been pretty
disgusting.
Pretty average.
I think it's safe to say that everyone since Howard has been trash. A lot of people pat Abbott on the back, but Abbott was weak. I think Abbott should have gone to a double dissolution. And if he didn't have control of the Senate, but he won so strongly at that election, then he should have gone straight to a double dissolution and put it all on the line. I just think he laid down.
I agree with Kim. bring back the 80s to the 2000s. That was the best 20 years, the best 20 years of life we've ever had. That was the peak of human civilization in this. Well, that was the peak of Australia's civilization.
Well, I was talking to Mark Lathan recently, and lately, and we were talking about it. He said, I loved living in the 80s and 90s. And he said, yeah, I was the same as me, because we're in the same era. And he said, mate, they were the best years, mate. You could get on the grogs and you can do what you like. And there was no red tape. There was no fucking, all that sort of stuff like that, you know. He said, and we both agree that was the best years of the 80s and 90s. It was innocence. There was no social media. Did what you like. All that sort of stuff. It was different living now. You know, you just can't.
No cameras everywhere. And no way now. It doesn't matter anyway, because now, mate,
and no social media.
With all these smart cities and all this crap that's coming in, you could throw your phone away and you're still going to be on video camera every day of the week.
Mate, there's more cameras than Speed Gordon. There's just a billion cameras everywhere. You can't move anywhere now. There's a camera.
What are they doing with the data? What are they doing with the data? That's off topic. Stephen, you've got to give us your top.
Well, for me, Howard is the top by far. I was too young for Hawke, but he just never appealed to me. Even afterwards, when looking back at his, I've done a lot of, I love political history and stuff. I've watched some of his speeches and stuff. He just never grabbed me. He did do a lot of good, but I think that was more Keating as treasurer. A lot of the things that Bob gets pat on the back for was really Keating. So I wouldn't put Bob Hawke there at all.
Bob was a healer. What you remember? Bob was a healer.
I guess I missed that.
The country was very fractured. Even though I was a kid, the country was still very fractured from Gough getting sacked in '75. And the Fraser years he did nothing, Fraser. But when Hawke came in, he settled the country down.
Yeah, okay.
He was a unifier,
See, I guess I wasn't.
Looking back,
I wasn't alive when he was selected first,
but he was a unifier. He kept the country's. There was still a lot of resentment from Gough. That's what I'm saying. There's still a lot of resentment from everyone on the constitutional stuff, and like Kerr sacking him, and it was just wrong and all that. So a lot of people, but he was a unifier, and he just said, let's start from scratch again, put all these economic reforms in, floated the dollar. He was the salesman, sure. He was the QC, and Keating was the solicitor doing all the dirty work. But he was a unifier, kept the country flowing,
Well, isn't it sad that we can't even find 5 names that we could say they're the best prime ministers?
Well, as Richard said,
we've got no Abraham Lincoln in Australian history, mate.
Well, the closest thing would be for Lincoln. Chifley during the Second World War kept the country together during the Second World War. Menzies was there for so long. I can't remember Menzies. I wasn't born.
Well, I mean, if you read the We Believe statement and what the Liberal Party should attest to, I think Menzies by far was a great prime minister, just for that alone. So I would say Howard, Menzies, and I know.
Sorry, Richard, it was Curtin. Sorry, Richard, it was Curtin. Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah, Chifley and Curtin, I think I don't know enough about them, but I think you'd have to consider them as well. And look, I know I bagged you out for picking this before, Sam, but I'd say Keating as well, because Keating had conviction, and that's what I want to see in politicians these days. And I wouldn't agree with everything that Paul Keating did. I mean, the Mabo case, the native title, and all that sort of stuff. I'm not completely sold on that, but I think superannuation was a good thing. Even though it's controlled by the unions nowadays, it was good when I was.
A large amount of 35, a third, if not 40% of the country's through industry super stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting some comments through on the YouTube, which is good. Thank you, Graham.
How many people we got online?
I'll have to tally it all up because I can't see the Rumble and everything. We get a lot more on Rumble, even though they can't comment through. But it's been a good show. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Sam, for coming on again and taking us through all the results.
And actually, viewers, I got invited this time. I wasn't a last minute replacement. I'm happy with that. I must be passing Steve's security because he doesn't trust me.
And Sam, you didn't talk about the Northern Territory either.
In what? Oh, what were we say?
On the referendum. Isn't that a critical area?
Oh, my oath. Well, I was surprised. I thought there'd be some yeses up there, but but we're in Sydney. We're in another world up there,
Yeah.
But last word about what happened yesterday. This is my personal opinion. I've said this earlier. I was happy this morning, but also angry at the same time. How the country.
I agree. And I have one last question, Sam. We've had Alexandra Marshall on. We've had Chris Covery's on. We've had a whole bunch of people. Great guests, fantastic guests. Steve Christou, Chris Smith, Millie Fontana, Will Kingston, Professor Ian Plimer. Fantastic guests.
Peter McCullough.
No, hang on. How come your episodes are viewed more than those? How come you're more highly viewed than these great guests that I've just listed?
I think I don't take it seriously and a bit of yobbo with me, I reckon.
I reckon you just keep watching them. You just keep creating the
That's where I was going. You're just watching them back to back to back to back, aren't you?
Yeah. I'll watch this probably 10 times the next 24 hours.
I got it on repeat, and you're just looping through.
Oh, Tony, I've given you 2 hours of entertainment. You're still not happy.
Well, you got a fan in Kim. Kim loves
you.
Yeah,
Kim. I love you, Kim. I love you, Kim. Let's got a fan.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Sam. Thanks for coming on. I guess you're not really big on social media or anything like that, but
we should do a Buono report.
Oh no. Just get me every couple of months. I'll be happy with that.
All right, we better wrap it up. Thank you, Adam. As always,
cheers, fellas.
You're always struggling through, a swollen face and you had a fractured rib at one stage, and now you got a busted voice.
Popped.
Bust.
Oh, I've had a rough month. It's been rough. Hopefully, I'll be on the mend soon.
Yeah, and thank you for everyone watching at home, and thank you for everyone that called in as well. You've all stuck with us for these 2 hours, and we really appreciate it. And we'll hopefully see you back again next Sunday, 8:00, live streaming. You can
tell your friends,
share it around, and hopefully
more the merrier.
Yes, and then Sam, we hope to see you soon as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.